Hello everyone, Ben Woodruff here with another Falconry video. Today's video I'm going to be talking about the Gyr Peregrine hybrid. Now falconry has a long, rich history, somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 years old. And over that time, a lot of different species have been trained and worked with, and new training techniques have been pioneered to where today, even though there's new innovations, a lot of things have been done for thousands of years. It's a very well-established field sport, as well as the species used region from region. But captive breeding, the propagation of raptors, it's not very old. It's less than 100 years old, really. In all those thousands of years of the history of falconry, people just trapped wild birds or got a baby bird and trained it. And even though that is still part of falconry, captive breeding has come about in less than the past 100 years. Now, propagation of raptors came about for many different ways, but one of the things that helped fuel it was that peregrine falcons in the United States and other surrounding countries had become endangered locally because of the pesticide DDT. And even though falconers were doing work to captive breed birds, that got pushed further with more emphasis and more pioneering of the technique through the use of programs designed to help breed peregrines and release them back into the wild, which was hugely successful. And of course now raptor propagation happens all over the world, all different kinds of species, but a lot of it stems from the original effort to bolster the species of numbers of wild peregrines in the United States. Because it's happened all over the world now, all different techniques have been tried for raptor propagation, and it's hugely successful endeavor today. Along that path, hybridization came about. Now there's a wide range of falcon species all over the world, and it turns out all falcons are closely related enough that they can technically be hybridized. Now some are closer to others, so the hybridization is more effective. Others, it's very limited because the species are too far out, especially when crossing kestrels with other species of falcons. But it has been successful. And the species I'm spotlighting today, people have requested other hybrid videos, but I wanted to start with the Gyr Peregrine, because crossing a Gyrfalcon with a peregrine falcon has been wildly successful. And above all the other hybrids, I think it has the greatest number of hours put in to prove it as a hunting bird and to show that this is a very successful species. So to understand the Gyr Peregrine hybrid, let's briefly take a look at the two species that are the parents. Gyrfalcons are the largest falcon species in the world. They're enormous. They are the size and occasionally bigger than red-tailed hawks. So they're massive, but they're still built like a falcon with long, narrow wings. But for their size, those wings are less narrow. They have broader wings that, even though they're still narrow and pointed, that give them more lift, more buoyancy. Also, their chest, the musculature on their chest, by comparison, is massive. In other words, if you took a peregrine, a prairie, a kestrel, and got them to magically made them the same size as a Gyrfalcon, their musculature would not match up. So, extremely powerful birds. They handle the cold very well. Gyrfalcons are less apt to wait on. It takes more work to get them to circle up above you. And they are more independent-minded and more prone to tail chase, which they love doing. They'll just like, oh, I missed a duck, I'll just chase it, until finally 5 miles later the duck tuckers out and I slam into it. Because they're Arctic, they are prone to be more susceptible to diseases like aspergillosis. The assumption is that some of these diseases are kept at bay by the cold, and so if you have a Gyrfalcon in warmer climates, where we're typically living, there's a proliferation of these diseases and they're more apt to contract them. So there's maybe a negative point about Gyrfalcons. And as far as the colors, you've got a range. Gyrfalcons can be pure white, pure black, or any color of silver or gray in between. And many of them, their first year, are incredibly brown and almost look like a saker falcon. So Gyrfalcons, they have positive and negative traits. Peregrine falcons live all over the world. And everywhere a peregrine lives, it's going to have a slightly different coloration and size based off of its region. Some are very colorful, some are very dull. But across the board, peregrine falcons everywhere in the world are supremely suited for falconry. They get it up here. They understand incredibly quickly, oh, I see what you're trying to do here, human. If I circle above you, you're going to flush up some prey for me to catch. Cool, that works. They get it. They're very loyal compared to other falcons. They are strong. Their musculature and their chest is strong. Nowhere near as much as a gyr, but they are strong muscled. And they are the fastest diver. And that is their preferred way. They would prefer to knock prey out of the sky rather than tail chase. And compared to a Gyrfalcon, they're a bit sturdier as far as their constitution and their ability to handle a disease and fight it. And their feet are longer. Gyrfalcons do have long toes, but they're a bit shorter, assumed to be the longer your digits are, the further out your hot blood has to travel, and in an Arctic climate, the more susceptible you are to frostbite. So even though they can fluff up and cover their toes with their feathers, still having slightly shorter toes for a falcon, in the case of a gyr, is actually a survival adaptation, we believe. Where peregrines often are in warmer climates, and so they can afford to have ridiculously long toes. There is no falcon with comparatively longer toes compared to their body than a peregrine, except for the orange-breasted falcon. That's the only one. But other than that, peregrine falcons, ridiculously long, wonderful hunting toes. So why make a hybrid between these two, and why hunt with it? One of the biggest answers to that question are sage grouse. In the United States, the largest upland game bird is a turkey, which is massive. But the next bird down is a sage grouse. Sage grouse are enormous. It is true that a well-trained female peregrine is capable of catching an early season sage grouse. They can do it, but it takes effort. It's much easier for a gyr. The perfect sage grouse hunting bird should be a male Gyrfalcon based off of size and abilities. They're the perfect size to get up quickly and take one down. But the problem is two things. Well, and again, these are my opinions I'm sharing based off of experience, but Gyrfalcons, even though they can be trained to go up, they're not like, I'm just going to keep going until that guy flushes something. A Gyrfalcon might not go up as high. You flush that sage grouse, and they might miss or not hit it hard, and then just tail chase it. Where if they were way high, hopefully they would have taken it out on their first try. And a gyr will tail chase forever, for miles. Let's say it chases that sage grouse 5 miles before the grouse tuckers out. The gyr brings it to the ground, and the gyr's like, I got it. Where'd you go? Okay, well, I'll just start eating it. Golden eagles love to eat falcons that are sitting on the ground. You're driving in your truck, your Jeep, you got your telemetry, you're trying to find them before an eagle does. You may find your bird with an eagle mantling over him, eating your bird. So that's not good. Where you flip that with a peregrine falcon is far more likely to take out its prey and kill it within eyesight of you, and you rush over and get him before an eagle does. So the idea with a hybrid is let's attempt to have as many positive gyr and peregrine traits in one hunting bird. So the hope is, if you watch a peregrine falcon wait on, you take off the hood, they're like, okay, and they where a Gyrfalcon, if they do wait on, you take off the hood, and they're like, whomp, whomp, and they're there. They don't have to circle as many times because their musculature is stronger, their wings are broader, so each flap is a more productive, more lifting flap, so they get up quicker. So if you have a dog on point, your dog's like, ooh, ooh, oh, there's a grouse. You're like, hey, okay, let's jump on this quick. Unhood your gyr peregrine, and hopefully it gets up as fast as a gyr, but with the same intent of a peregrine that understands the value of waiting on, and that once it's there, you hope that the peregrine traits take over and that it dives like a peregrine with greater speed than a gyr, but with the weight of impact of a male gyr, takes down that prey and lands pretty close to you. So that's the hope. The also hope is like, well, I hope that it can handle the cold as well as a gyr, but that it can be more disease resistant like a peregrine. There's also a lot of discussion of what's called hybrid vigor. This is not just with birds, but with other animals as well, is the infusion of new genetic diversity supposedly often makes for a greater racehorse, a greater hunting dog, a greater falcon. I don't know if that's true or not. There has been research done into it, and it seems that there is evidence to indicate that there is such a thing as hybrid vigor. If it's true, then that's another plus to add to your list. Gyr peregrines don't just have to hunt sage grouse. I never did. I hunted ducks and pheasants with mine, and they did great at that. They did wonderful at that. They can hunt a wide range of prey. But here's something to consider, and this is Ben Woodruff thinking here. Anytime there's a falcon hybrid, if one half of that hybrid is peregrine, it's always an improvement. Hey, we crossed a peregrine with a prairie. It's a great bird. Hey, we crossed a gyr with a peregrine. It's improvement. Anytime you hear of a peregrine DNA being put into this hybrid, it's an improvement. That's not always the same way. It's not like, oh, I crossed a gyr with a saker. It's stubborn and self-hunts all the time. Hey, I crossed a prairie with a gyr, and it's independent self-hunts. There always seems to be an improvement if you cross something with a peregrine. Therefore, why not just hunt a peregrine? Now, there's lots of reasons why it's great to hunt with a hybrid. But my point is, I'm just trying to put a little evidence in there that I still say the greatest hunting falcon that's a pure species is a peregrine. I love flying all different kinds of falcons. Love it for different reasons. But if you said, Ben, you have one game hunting falcon that you can choose, what would it be? It would be a female peregrine. And that is, again, why you see that in the Gyr peregrine, because the male gyr should be the ultimate sage grouse hawker, and yet you see this hybrid. One of the things you will see in the mid to late 1900s, some of our current best old-timer falconers were flying prairie falcons. That was what was available to them. And they pushed that species, they pushed American falconry as far as they could, and pioneered great legitimate hunting with falcons. And then later on, when captive-bred peregrines became available, a lot of these falconers were flying peregrines. And then a lot of them themselves helped to pioneer captive breeding programs of falcons of all kinds. And in the process, they themselves started breeding Gyr peregrines and hunting them. So even though I do contend that, yes, a Gyr peregrine is a great hunting companion, I also say currently in the United States at least, some of our absolute best falconers happen to be hunting with Gyr peregrines. So my point is that if you gave these same individuals a prairie, you gave these same individuals a saker, they would have as much success as those species can do. So what I'm saying is some of our best and brightest falconers happen to be hunting with Gyr peregrines, and I also say a Gyr peregrine is a great hunting companion. I hope this information was useful, but admittedly, technology is changing quickly. Nowadays, everybody's filming everything with their phone. We have access to video footage. I have a lot of photos in the past, but I try to have video footage in these. And since I don't have any footage of my Gyr peregrines, because that was many years ago, then if you want the opportunity to see Gyr peregrine hawking at its finest, let me recommend Steve Shingren is an accomplished sage grouse hawking falconer. And he's produced many productions. He has a channel, a YouTube channel, but I recommend you go online and look up House of Grouse. It's an amazing DVD that shows sage grouse hawking at its best. And he took the time also to only mostly put on cloudy days where you can actually see the action, so it's not overexposed by the blue. So again, House of Grouse by Steve Shingren. Go online, purchase it. It's a great DVD if you really want to see just how well Gyr peregrine hybrids can perform against one of the most difficult quarries that North America has to offer, the sage grouse. I hope you find this video interesting. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps me grow the channel. Let me know down in the comments what other types of videos and subjects you would like me to cover. And as always, happy hawking.